Okay, so far what we've built is a commit tree or a Git tree that has three commits in succession. We have the first one, the initial commit, which is pointed to by one that says added a question, which is pointed to by one that says added a readme to my repository. So that's perfectly fine. That kind of process of building one long chain is perfectly fine when you have a small project that only you are working on. So this is going to work for you for now. The challenge becomes when you start working on a very large project or working with someone else, or when you get to a point where you have a particular version of your software that you want to still like keep good and untouched while you continue to develop in another direction as well. So in order to do that, what we actually need to do is understand a little bit more about what's going on with what's called references or branches. And so on this picture that you see in front of you, we actually have a little bit more going on than meets the eye. What we've got is another arrow here with the word master and another arrow here with the word head. And what we see is that, or what's going on is that master is kind of like a variable in a way. It's a name that points to a particular commit at any one time. And because that commit has a name, we can then go back to it. And in fact, if you look at the Git log, you can see that that's here. There's head, whatever that is, pointing at master, and then the master is on this particular line to say that it's pointing at this commit. So the word master is the master branch of this Git repository, and we can make other branches. So if we go back over to our code, we might, for example, want to leave this master branch at commit number 3 and make more commits. So maybe we want to build, oops, I want to make this white just to be consistent with my colors. We might want to build more of a feature here. And so I might, right, so I might have like a fourth commit right here, which is some new experimental feature that I want to build. And so in order to do that, but still have this master branch pointing back at that last good commit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new branch. And so what I need, I'll call it maybe feature, and that'll just be another sort of commit name, a reference to a commit, so that I can kind of follow along with that one. But then in order to do that work, now I have to understand what's going on with this head here. So the head, and I probably should pick a different color for it so that it's a little bit more consistent here. The head is what is a reference that points to whatever the current state of my working directory is, of my directory. And so at this moment in time, head's pointing at master, and what that signifies is that me, the coder, I am on the master branch. If I instead wanted to build on this feature branch, then what I need to do is I need to change this reference such that instead of pointing at the master, it's pointing instead at the feature branch. So that process of, first of all, making the feature branch and then having it point over at, having the head point over at that, it's called checking out. So let's see how that works in the code. So over here, what I've got is I've got these three commits. And so I'm going to type the command git checkout -b feature. And so what that says, the B is for branch. Feature is obviously going to be the name of my branch feature. Check out is like a super powerful git command which says like basically move the head to something else. So have the head point somewhere else. So, and again, the head is really like me, the coder, like what is in the folder that I'm actually looking at right now. Okay, so if I check, as soon as I type this, and then because feature doesn't exist, the -b is going to like make it. So this command does two things at once. It makes the feature branch, and then it goes and checks it out, or it points the head toward that. So I'm going to push enter here, and now if I do a git log, what I see is, you can not quite tell what's going on here. So you see that the head is now pointing a new branch called feature, and the master branch is still here as well. So going back over to my tree, what I actually see is I don't have any of this yet because I haven't made it yet. I just have the feature branch is pointed over here. Okay, so that's what I currently have. So now what I want to do is actually want to make that fourth commit. Can I undo? I just did all that nice arrow shaping. There we go. So now I want to get to this picture. In order to do that, I need to go over here and make some changes. Every time you want to do some coding, you have to actually do the coding. So I'm going to now maybe assign a variable x equals 10, print x. Okay, so I've made this new experimental feature. Oh boy, I'm printing out 10. And so if I were to go back over to my console, my terminal, and do a get status, I'm going to see that I need to change hello.py. So I'll get add dot and get commit. And you wouldn't normally do this labeling it with C4. Like you don't want to do the like numbering of your commits. That's going to be really awkward. I'm doing it just for this video so that I can show you down in the graph. You'd normally want to give this a better commit name, like something like add feature for. These are so simple that they're actually hard to come up with good names for. Add feature for printing X, something. Okay, great. So I'm going to commit that change. And now if I do a get log, I'm going to see that the head is pointed at feature in this new commit that I made, and master is still back here. So this is exactly what I was aiming for with this picture. Great. And so I can build along with there. And then, so just to kind of make a graph that is somewhat interesting, I'm going to go back over to master. And so in order to do that, we have to check it out, right? So I check out master. And when I do that, the head is now pointed back over here. Okay, so let's do that. So just that step right there would be saying get checkout master. Okay, so now I do this. I do a get log just to see what's going on. And you see your commit 4 is actually gone now because head is pointing at master, master is pointing at this commit, and these commits all point back to the beginning, and none of them need this C4 feature in order to point all the way back to the beginning. So they just don't show it. That's fine, we're here. Let's now make a fifth commit, which will be, it'll actually end up looking like this when we're done. Oh, we'll call it C5. And what's going to happen is because head's pointing at master, that's why C5 points to this third commit and not to the fourth commit, because the commits are built off of wherever their references are pointing to, which in this case is C3. And so the change that we will see after we make this commit is now that the master branch will be pointed here instead. So let's see that. So we go over here. We need to make our actual change. Notice, by the way, that that code that I added, the x equals 10, is gone. If I wanted to see it, I could get checkout feature. It'll appear again. There it is. Great. And if I get checkout master, it goes away because it's not on that commit. So this is, you can start to see how we have multiple versions of this code, which is pretty cool. Okay, great. So let's make a different change. And I'm not going to make it to hello.py because that's going to cause something called a merge conflict. I'll talk about that in a later video, but those are like super complicated. What I'm going to do instead is I'll make the change to README. That's going to make it a lot easier to understand in this video. So I'll say this repository was created by Dr. Zufel. Okay, so great. So now I've made that change. I can do my get status. You don't have to do get status, but I always like to do it just to make sure that things are behaving the way I expect them to. Get add dot, get commit dash m, and this is going to be C5, and I'll call it add contribution information. So again, you wouldn't normally do C5. You wouldn't want to normally number your commits, but I'm doing that here just to help things be clearer on my picture that I've been drawing. Okay, so I make that commit. I do a get log, and you see I still don't see that C4 anywhere because I don't need to see that C4 in order to get back all the way to the beginning of my repository, from the head all the way to the master, C5, etc., back to the beginning. Okay, so now we have this picture here. And in order to bring these back together, that's called merging. So I'm going to merge these two together. And so the picture, when I do that, it's really super important that you're merging from one branch to another branch. So people often imagine that merging two branches together is just like joining them sort of equally. It's not equal. There's sort of like a giver and a receiver in a sense. And so the way I've got it laid out now, where head is pointed at master, or you might say that I'm on the master branch, feature is going to be sort of the giving branch, and master is going to be the receiving branch, okay? So what's going to end up happening is I'll have another commit here at the end. It's often called a merge commit. I'll call it C6, and I'll give it the word merge. And it's going to have two parents. So it's going to have this commit as a parent, and it's going to have this commit as a parent. And this is how you start to build actually interesting Git trees. So you can kind of work on your features as long as you want. And then when they're ready and when they're like sort of like safe, good code, then you can merge them back into the master. And that's like releasing a new feature for your software, basically. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to go back over to my terminal, and I'm going to say, just double check that I'm on the right branch. So one way to do that is to say status, because it will tell me that I'm on the master branch. Another way to do that is to do your log, to pay attention to that. So I'm on the master branch. It's pointed right here at this C5 like I want. And now I'm going to say git merge, and I have to tell it which branch to merge. And I want to merge the feature branch into this one. It's possible that I've got 17 branches. I've only got 2 here, but you can have lots. Okay, so as soon as I merge this, I should end up with, oh, notice that I didn't put a commit message in. So this is interesting. So now I'm in Vim. I made a previous video about this, so if you're confused right now, go back to that previous video. So this merge branch feature is a totally fine commit message. I'm just going to add the C6 so that we can see it in our log. Okay, so right quit. All right, great. So I made that one. So now if I do get status, I should be totally fine. I'm on the master branch still. And I'm going to do get log to see what's going on with my branches. So I see C6, C5, C4, and then the ones that don't have numbers, the third, second, and first commits. Features all the way back at C4. So given that picture, what you see here, it almost looks like you have a chain of 6 commits. You don't. What you have is this here, and now this master branch is not actually pointed here anymore. It's now pointed, let me scoot it so it's a little bit clearer in the picture. It's over here now. And so the head is pointed here, and the master branch is pointed here. So this is the sort of the final picture for this video. And this is the process that you would often do of creating branches, building on those branches. When they're ready, you merge them back together. And this is like the main way that Git starts to be like really interesting and powerful. Okay.